All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going to break down a really fascinating and complex military idea. It's called Iran's second Vietnam strategy, and it's seriously shaping modern conflict.
So this whole strategy really kicks off with a central puzzle. It's a question military planners all over the world are trying to figure out. How can a bunch of cheap drones and local militias actually go toe-to-toe with a global military superpower? The answer? Well, it could change everything we think we know about warfare.
And here's the thing, it's not about winning some big conventional battle. No way. It's about completely changing the rules of the game. The goal is to trap a superpower in a type of fight it was never designed for, a fight it's almost guaranteed to struggle with.
So to really get a grip on Iran's playbook today, we've got to go back in time. We need to look at one of the most difficult military conflicts in American history. And honestly, the name of the strategy, it says it all.
And look, this name, Second Vietnam, this wasn't just cooked up by some think tank analyst. Nope. It's a direct quote, a warning from a high-ranking Iranian official. They're not being subtle here. They are explicitly drawing a line from a past American failure to what they see as a future threat.
This word right here, quagmire. This is the absolute key to the whole thing. The goal is to turn any conflict into a sticky, messy bog, a situation that's just incredibly difficult and exhausting to get out of. It's designed to be a trap you can't escape without paying a massive price, both in money and in political support back home.
So you see, the whole definition of winning gets flipped on its head. It's not about winning battles or taking over land. Victory, in this strategy, is all about bleeding your opponent dry, draining their money, their supplies, and maybe most importantly, their will to keep fighting.
Okay, so that's the historical idea. But how do you actually pull this off today with modern technology? Well, that brings us to the modern playbook.
This whole strategy is built on a few core ideas, or pillars, if you will. Each one is tailor-made to poke at the weaknesses of a giant conventional military. You've got asymmetric warfare, which is basically fighting dirty and unconventionally. Use proxies, so you're not doing all the fighting yourself. You spread the conflict out everywhere. That's horizontal escalation. And the big one, economic attrition. You make every single move incredibly expensive for your enemy. This slide just lays it out perfectly. This is the heart of that economic warfare. It's a total mismatch, right? On one side, you have a $67 million jet. On the other, a drone that costs a tiny fraction of that. You launch cheap stuff to force the other side to use incredibly expensive defenses. Think about it. Even when they successfully shoot your stuff down, you're winning the financial battle. It's genius in a way. And this is not just some idea on a whiteboard. This is real. There are reports that in just a single month of fighting with Houthi forces, the US burned through $1 billion. $1 billion! Just on defense against these kinds of cheap attacks. That is an absolutely insane amount of money.
And you can bet Iran was watching this closely. This Houthi playbook is exactly what they've reportedly studied. The goal is to take that concept and scale it way, way up. To make the US military go, as they say, bonkos, to literally bleed it financially until it can't sustain the fight.
But this whole financial drain thing, it's just one piece of a much bigger, more sophisticated trap. Analysts have actually broken it down into 3 stages, and each one is designed to pull you in deeper. Okay, so let's walk through this escalation trap. First, the US comes in and gets some easy tactical wins, blows some stuff up. But it doesn't actually achieve the bigger political goal. So what happens next? Stage 2, frustration kicks in and they double down, send more troops, more resources, but it still doesn't work. That leads to the final crisis point, stage 3. Suddenly, the US is looking at really high-risk options, like a massive ground invasion, which is exactly the move that started the whole quagmire in Vietnam. See how it works? Each step feels logical, but it's just pulling you deeper into the mud.
So let's step back. If a big military victory on the battlefield isn't the goal, then what is? What does winning actually look like in this scenario? What's the end game?
Well, it turns out there are 2 main targets. First, the US economy. You make the war so ridiculously expensive, it just becomes unsustainable. And second, you target US public opinion. You erode the patience of the American people, who see their tax dollars and, more importantly, soldiers' lives being spent on a war with no end in sight. The 2 are completely linked.
Meanwhile, Iran is betting on its own strengths. It's banking on its tough, mountainous terrain and a population with a deeply ingrained regime ideology. The bet is simple. We can take the pain for longer than you can.
They believe their resilience will outlast the patience of a foreign power fighting far from its own shores.
And that brings us to the ultimate goal, the real takeaway here. This whole thing, it's not really just a military strategy. At the end of the day, it's a tool for diplomacy. All the drones, the militias, the chaos, it's all designed to create one thing: leverage. Leverage to force the United States back to the negotiating table, but this time in a much, much weaker position.
Which leaves us with a really big question, doesn't it? In the wars of the 21st century, who actually wins? Is it the side with the strongest, most advanced army? Or is it the side that can simply hold out the longest, the most patient one? It's something to think about, because the answer is changing right before our eyes.